terms of second segment for today's episode is I'm excited to welcome in Attorney David Cohen. David is a solo attorney based in Manhattan, focuses on intellectual property law, and we're going to talk about the interest of David and sort of solo attorneys generally and the opportunities that growth by acquisition presents. So, David, welcome. Love to learn a little more and have you share your bio with our audience.
Thank you, Jeremy. Pleasure to be here. So it's fascinating discussion ahead of time. I was listening in. So my story, I always say it's simple, but never believe a lawyer when he says something is simple. So my story: frustrated academic, big firm, little firm, mostly focusing on IP. Worked for Nokia for around 5 years in-house, where I managed some of their largest IP litigation from the perspective of generating revenue for the company. And then from there, I was chief legal and IP officer of a microcap that focused on generating revenue from technology development and licensing, more often than not through litigation and aggressive licensing campaigns. And I've been on my own since 2017, and I focus on intellectual property, that's correct, but mostly on monetization, on how to make money from your intellectual property, predominantly patents and trade secrets, and for the most part, predominantly through licensing or litigation. I have two entities. I have a law firm and a consultancy. And what I think is unique about my practice is, yes, I do the traditional blocking and tackling that anyone would do in my space, but I really focus on the business side of law, using the law as a business instrument to develop your revenue, to develop other things. And I spend a lot of time doing what I call IP market making, which is marrying business other law firms and sort of funding other law firms and rights holders to create a whole package to create a licensing or technology transfer vehicle. And that's sort of related to why we're here, in that it's just me doing a lot of stuff by myself across a lot of different domains. And, there's finding quality people isn't easy. Building your own practice from scratch and finding quality people from scratch is much harder. And so, when we first met a while back, I was very intrigued by sort of the business concept. And the more I talk about it, the more I learn about it, the more interesting it is.
Great. So that leads right into our question. Excites you about succeeding to a senior attorney's practice?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, and I'm going to use weasel words. We used to joke it when I was at Skadden that, you did the spell check, you did the grammar check, now you got to do the weasel check and give the caveats. But I'm opportunistic because I have to be. I call myself an entrepreneur not by choice. I had to go do my own thing. And I'm sort of making it up on the fly, which is one way to say it. The other way to say it is I'm opportunistic. I follow where the opportunities are based on what's available to me and makes the most sense for my skill sets and interests. So how does that relate to succeeding a senior attorney? There's a lot of ways that I can find a senior attorney. I am not set. I don't have a specific profile in mind that has as a high degree of criteria. There's a lot of different ways that it could work, right? And one way would be there's a senior attorney who has a practice who's looking to just slowly get out or get out quickly, depending on the needs. And it would be interesting to me to for me, that creates a whole existing infrastructure of client generation. Clients who I can cross-sell. A lot of what I offer is unique, and the typical attorney does not have it. I offer, and so there could be an overlap as I learn senior attorney's business and how he conducts stuff with the clients. I could cross-sell a lot of the services that I could provide. Or if by some chance I meet someone who does what I do, part of the reason why it's so challenging what I do is that I don't have the staff, I don't have the people in-house, as it were, to bounce ideas off of and to help develop them. And we can talk about that whole sort of trajectory of how I could develop a sort of an established attorney's practice. But the other thing too is I've been, for better or worse, and I don't say this pejoratively, I think there's an underappreciation of middle management in this society as a whole, and that's a whole other political discussion. But I've been a legal manager for the past 15 years. And another opportunity could be is a senior attorney or a senior-ish attorney who is looking to get out slowly or soon, but needs someone who can manage the business. And they don't want to, because they hate that. They don't want to do that. They're sick and tired of this. They're too old for this stuff. They just want to work on with their clients that they like. And but they don't want to just hire a professional manager for hire who doesn't understand law firm, doesn't understand the business, and doesn't understand the practice. And in my experience, the managers who understand what they're managing and can do it if they had to, or if they want to, is probably the best kind of manager. And so it would be, if it, it depends on the opportunity, but there is an opportunity to me to come in, from my perspective, to come in and find a law firm where, for whatever reason, it could be any, obviously it shouldn't be the reasons that indicate that the law firm is slowly circling down the drain. But, for whatever reason, the senior attorney or the person in charge is no longer interested in being in charge and just wants to do their thing. There's a great opportunity for me to help develop that firm, bring it into the 21st century, whatever you want to call it, and develop the business, but also manage it and take over sort of the less glorious things and slowly take over the practice as well as the law firm eases themselves out. So the bottom line is I'm a legal businessman. I do law, I do business. Yes, the ethics rules make my head explode every time. I have a number of opinions to the various ethics bars, and I'm like, it is what it is. But I have a consultancy, I have a law firm, and I recognize that. But the way I view it and the way I like to give my clients is the holistic business approach to the law and the legal instruments. And I would view that the same way to any opportunity. If there was a way for me to help and both make my life easier by getting more clients, getting synergies from client and lead generation, getting synergies for internet, as you were noting before, internet and all that lovely electronic stuff that the interwebs have imposed on us, stuff. And thought leadership is so important, especially in what I do. But also just gets lonely. Someone to talk to who understands your stuff, right? I have friends, I have colleagues but I can't. It's hard for me to commiserate about stuff that's highly confidential and privileged with someone who's not, right? And it's so important. So, all of those things and probably many more.
Great. So, David, in the few minutes that we have left, you brought up something that we've talked about before and that I'm absolutely seeing in the marketplace, which is that most senior attorneys that have younger attorneys that work with them, they would love for those younger attorneys to be able to take over the practice. Often the younger attorneys, they don't want to. They can't afford to. Okay. The prospect of joining another firm at this point in their careers, they recognize the opportunity. Logistically, it's tough, right? We see it. What you bring up is something that makes me think back of my maternal grandfather. I loved hearing these stories that he would tell me about, the Boston Braves baseball team, had player managers. And that's what I hear when you talk about the solo attorney that is a business person and an attorney that would have the skill set to come into a senior attorney-led firms and both play, that is practice, and also manage. So if you could just share a few more thoughts on that, of what that opportunity could be of you not just taking in a solo senior attorney, but perhaps taking over the management of a senior attorney-led firm as the senior attorneys start to phase out and wearing that business hat that you have and the practitioner hat to continue that law firm.
Yeah. So I mean, gonna throw out some stereotypes here, but just like if you talk to any lawyer, you'll find that doctors and dentists are terrible business people. But frankly, so are lawyers. They're terrible business people. They hate managing. And in my experience, big firm, small firm, little firm, micro firm, most lawyers don't like the business of managing other people. And oddly enough, even the most bulldog litigators tend to be non-confrontational in their day-to-day life, to the extent that they're functional human beings. That's a whole other kettle of fish about successful litigators who are not functional human beings. But leaving that aside, I talk to people, and I see there's an opportunity to come in there and take over the stuff that they don't really want to do, that they have to do by necessity, which is managing the firm, coming up with out of the box thinking about strategic growth for the firm areas, a lot of the thought leadership that is not, hey, let me talk about my what I'm working on today, or what I like to work on, or some interesting thing I developed, but let me do some thought leadership about where I want the firm to be to start developing a business practice, because now people understand that I'm a thought leader in the space. And so, and then of course, the mundane stuff that all the lawyers, everyone likes to complain about, but that's an opportunity for me because it is what it is, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm still young enough to have the stamina to do, the basic managing and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of things that are important that exist that most lawyers will do reluctantly, if at all. And I'm more than happy to do that. And I see that's a great opportunity for me to come in and sort of take an existing practice to the next level, because and there would be but like all these things, right? And that's why I think the player manager point is great. Contracts, agreements are only worth as much as your trust of the other person signing the other document. And how do you build trust? You build trust through shared experience and through viewing their ability to do the tasks that they have to do. And so if you're a lawyer, if you're a practicing manager or player manager, the other members see that you play. You know how to play, right? But you're also managing them. And so that creates respect. You're not just some dude who came in and is giving orders.
Wonderful. David Cohen, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for that great perspective as a solo attorney, and the opportunities that solos similar to yourself present to senior attorneys as they're thinking about succession planning and sales of their practices. David, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Likewise. Take care. Be well.